heck is happening in real estate? We've all been seeing the articles, we've been reading the news, seeing everything online. And if you stay till the end of today, I am going to have a nice little treat for you. I'm going to show you how you can actually get a mortgage for under 4% in today's marketplace in here. And I'll also show you how you can get properties at a 20% discount. So make sure to stay tuned. So I'm about to go over some data just to kind of paint the picture of where we've been and where we currently are now. I did use this 5-mile radius around my personal office here. It's really the inland South Orange County market, but this is a great little snapshot of what Orange County as a whole and Southern California as a whole is currently experiencing here. So let's talk about March 2022, 6 months ago. What was the market like? In that little circle here, there was 359 sales. A median days on market, meaning how quickly homes were getting into escrow, was 6 days, so less than a week. The median list price at that time was $1,050,000. And the median sales price, however, was $1,160,000. So homes were selling approximately $110,000 over their list price. And that was for a standard 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,900 square foot home. Contrast that to today in September 2022. There have been 233 sales in the last 30 days. The median days on market is 23 days. The median list price is $1,070,000, but the median sales price is $1,049,900, which is $20,100 under the list price for a similar 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,875 square feet. So just to kind of contrast, we're having 35% less sales. They're taking 4 times longer to sell, and they're they're listed $20,000 higher than what they were before, but they're selling $110,100 lower, which is 9.5% lower sales price than it was in March for the same size house, or negligible. It's 29 square feet smaller for the median price, or for the median house. And yes, I did say 9.5% lower prices than were in sales price in March. And that is according to the median sales price. Yes, in this little circle, snapshot of our local marketplace in here. So you're probably saying, what? I'm not hearing that. So what the heck happened? I think it's pretty easy to tell. Interest rates happened is the big, really our, this market has been defined by mortgage rates. And let's talk about in the beginning of March 1st, it was 3.9%, so just under 4%. By the end of that month, it had already crested 4.75%. And the midpoint right there on March 15th was 4.425%. So just some quick math, it was $4,658 per month in principal and interest for the median sales price with 20% down at that interest rate there. Contrast that to the last 30 days. We started in September at 6.23%, and as of yesterday, it was 6.82%. So let's take the midpoint here. September 15th, it was 6.33%. So if we take that, it was $5,216 principal and interest at that lower amount at $1,050,000 with 20% down at 6.33, or $558 per month more for the same type of a house, even though it was $110,000 cheaper just because of that interest rate difference. But here is the big thing that's been messing everybody up. And that's compared to this same time last year, it's $2,130 per month more. That's not a total payment. That's an additional payment compared to what it was this time last year, which the median sales price in that same circle for September of last year was $915,000, and it was a 3% interest rate a year ago today. insane. So that's absolutely put the brakes on the market, and this is pretty much what everybody's been saying is, whoa, right? One of the largest nation's power buyers or iBuyers is Opendoor. And I'm really bummed I didn't get a screenshot when I did this in, I believe it was February of this year. In February of this year, I got an Opendoor offer, and it was over $1 million. It was over $1.25 million, so over 1.25. $1,250,000. And then when I did this in July, they dropped the price to $1,048,000. That was a big thing, but unfortunately I didn't get a screenshot. I was kind of bummed about it. But for this specific broadcast today, I re-upped this from July. I asked for an updated offer. They changed it to $1,020,000 or $27,400 less than they would have offered me July 11th. So what is that, like 2 months? What is that, 2.5 months? Insane. They also, on that same little thing, have what they call market trends of what's happening in the zip code that we are in. It's probably difficult to see right now, but it says median sales price is decreasing, is what it says here. Average days on market is slowing down, and the number of homes sold is decreasing as well. But they also put some numbers to it. There's a nice graph going back to May, and it shows a pretty steady decrease all the way from June to today. But the big thing down at the bottom left is difficult to say, but I'll tell it to you. It's a decrease of $28,500 over 30 days. So it says in the last 30 days, the median sales price for this zip code has dropped $28,500 over 30 days, which is a decrease of 3.7% just in the last 30 days, according to this data that they have here. And unfortunately, most news outlets are 30 to 60 days behind what is actually currently happening now. So all the data you're seeing is still either talking about July, or I just saw a CNBC article today just starting to talk about what happened in August. So you're usually, when you're seeing all these CNBC articles, nationwide news articles, even CAR data at the minimum is 21 days behind when they come over and talk about California as a whole. So you're hearing outdated data, and it's changed a lot even in the last 30 days. So the big question is, where the heck is the market going from here? And of course, nobody has a crystal ball, including myself, but let's actually take a look. Since the beginning of the year to date, the S&P 500 is down 24%. The NASDAQ is down 32% year to date. This isn't from the highs, this is just year to date. And Bitcoin, wonderful Bitcoin, is down 59%, almost 60% year to date, not only from the highs at last year time frame. In fact, the only graph that seems to be going up is interest rates. So what the heck is happening, right? If you've never heard of this rule, it's called the Rule of 10. This is really what's been playing out since the beginning of this year. The Rule of 10 states that for every 1% change in interest rate, your payment will change approximately by 10%. So if you are qualified, for example, for a loan of $500,000 at 5%, and then the interest rates go from 5 to 6%, instead of qualifying for $500,000, you would then qualify for 10% less, which would be $450,000, right? Same thing as your payment would change by 10%. So let's say that your payment at a certain rate would be $4,000 a month. If the interest rate goes up, then it would be $4,400 a month. The other part about the Rule of 10 is that for every 1% change in interest rate, the buyer pool, or people who are able to afford a certain price home, will change by approximately 10%. So anytime an interest rate changes by 1%, there are 10% less buyers able to afford that particular home. And another way of looking at it that some people say is for every 1% change in interest rate, home prices will then change by approximately 10%. Now, I'm personally not a believer in this aspect of it because there are a tremendous amount of factors that play into it, but it is safe to say that they do change based upon the interest rate because our business is so heavily influenced by interest rates. But I am a believer, because I've seen it in the data and we're going to go through it, is that for every 1% change in interest rate, the buyer pool will change by approximately 10%. For example, we began the year in 3.2% interest rate, and now they're hovering right around 6.75%, plus or minus. Some are 6.8, some are 6.82. It depends on which source you're looking at. But if you subtract those two, you get a 3.5% difference, or it's a 3.5 percentage points different, which would equate then to a 35% less buyer pool because of the rule of 10. So let's see how those numbers kind of play out. And this is according to Stephen Thomas's reports on housing data as of 9/19. That was the most recent full report that he came out with. Next one's coming out tomorrow. By the way, side note, if you're a real estate agent and you do not subscribe to Stephen Thomas, you are really missing the boat. Love you, Stephen. You're awesome. I love your data that comes out. This time last year, there were 2,623 escrows, new pendings, new 30-day pendings in Orange County. Contrasted today, there was only 1,756, which is 33% less escrows in Orange County than there were this time last year. Now, I don't know about you, but 33% is pretty darn close to 35%, going back to the rule of 10 numbers. So, personal belief, as long as rates remain elevated, which I'm going to say above 5%, it doesn't look good for the housing market. Now, why do I say above 5%? April is right when mortgage rates surpassed 5%. It was April 8th, according to Mortgage News Daily, is when mortgage rates went above 5%. That's also right when, according to InfoSpark from CRMLS, when pending sales here in Orange County took a huge about face and dropped precipitously from March to April, dropped pretty substantially. So as long as they're above that 5% level, we are not going to be having a good time. And I'm sure you guys are probably saying, come on, bro, like, come on. This is depressing. I mean, bottom line, should I buy? Should I sell? Just tell me, what the heck am I supposed to do? Now, first of all, hashtag don't sue me, bro, because I'm going to give you a quick disclaimer. This is not legal advice or financial advice. You are a grown adult. Do your own due diligence prior to making any financial decisions. However, if you do decide to buy or sell, give me a call. Haha. Anyway, so this is my metric. Who should be buying a house right now? First and foremost, if somebody who doesn't think the world is ending, right? There's some people who are proponents saying that the real estate market's going to crater 50% and 80%. It's going to be a bloodbath. If you think the world is ending, why are we even talking about buying a house right now, right? So if you think that the world isn't ending, that's one component. Awesome. Check that off the list, right? If someone who is financially stable, if you have financial stability, meaning you're not worried, if you're, in a secure position financially, if you have a good income, if you're solid, right? If you know where you want to live for the longer term, meaning you're not just trying to turn and burn in 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years, if you're able to ride out any potential additional storm we might be seeing. So if you're planning on living in your home for the next 10 years, awesome. If you have a positive longer term outlook on the market, again, noticing a trend here, longer term outlook, if you know where you want to live longer term. Also, if you've done the math, if the payments make sense for you based upon your income, based upon your debts, making sure everything's dialed in. And if you have money to put down, this is not the type of market that I would be recommending first-time home buyers putting no money down into anything, because as soon as there's even a tiny blip, which we've been seeing, As soon as there's a tiny blip, you have no room. There's no breathing room in your equity position, and it just doesn't feel good to have a home that is not worth what you have a loan against. So if you have a significant amount of money, again, I'm not going to put a dollar amount because everybody's different. If I had to, I would say somewhere around 10, 20% that you have to put down. Awesome. Now, who should sell? First off, if you do think the world is ending, right? If you think the world is ending, it's probably a good idea. That's really kind of said in jest. But again, I thought that was funny. But really the first question, whenever somebody asks me, Jacob, do you think I should sell right now? My first question back is, well, do you want to move? Because if you don't want to move, then I'll say no, right? But if it's no, but the next leg is there any financial issues or financial stresses? Are you guys okay financially? Can you afford the payments? Is it putting a huge burden on you? If the answer is no, and you don't want to move, then why the heck do you want to do that, right? Another one is you have a huge negative outlook on the marketplace. You think it's going to continue to get worse and continue to get worse and continue to get worse, and you'd rather cash out and take your chips off the table now. That's something to consider. And also, if you've done the math, now I do put in there about 10% selling costs, and this is going to trigger a lot of people and maybe even some agents, because you may be saying, well, why 10%? You know, I can get somebody to list my house at 1% and we can offer 2%. That was working back in March. You wouldn't have to do any repairs. People were writing offers on anything just because there was nothing available. Right now, you're going to need to do more in order to get a home sold. You're going to need to bob and weave and bend a little bit more, whether that's a price reduction that you didn't factor in, whether that's repair costs that you maybe didn't factor in, whether that's extra negotiation that you have to do with the buyer. So I would rather there be a good surprise at the end than a bad surprise. So I would factor in about 10% of selling costs based upon what a home is worth today, just to make sure that you have a buffer in there. And also, if you're committed to doing what is necessary to sell in today's market. This is not the market to try to, oh my goodness, overshoot the moon, because nothing's worse than having to catch a falling knife, so to speak. Making sure you're priced accordingly. Condition is huge right now. People are still willing to pay market value, especially when there is a home that is priced, when the condition is phenomenal. If a home does not have stellar condition, you're gonna have to sacrifice on price or put the work in order to sell today. 6 months ago in March, different story. Today, that's the way that it is. And also the agent that you choose to use. What is that agent actually doing? Are they able to be more of an aggressive and active agent versus the old 3 Ps of real estate agent, right? Where you put a sign in the front yard, put it on the MLS, and you pray that it sells. That's no longer working in the marketplace in here. So let's talk about opportunity. That's enough freaking depressing stuff, Jacob. Where is the opportunity right now? So let's talk about what was happening in March in order to say what's happening now. Homes were selling in less than a week. We all know that, right? Homes would come on the market. It would be in escrow by that afternoon. There were buyers writing on any and every single home. Holy crap, you had 10 showings, you had 10 offers. It was insane. Pandemonium. There were lines around the block for open houses. There were multiple offers, and I have that bolded and in all capitals because I'm talking about 10, 20, 30 plus offers on a home that didn't make any sense. Homes were selling $110,000 over the list price for the median sales of homes in our little marketplace right here. Only 10% of homes in March sold under the list price, and 0.8, not 8, 0.8 sold 10+% under the list price. Let's compare that with where we are today. Today, homes are taking 4 times longer to sell. 68% sold under the list price so far this month. 68% sold under the list price, and an astounding 17% sold 10 or more percent under the list price. By the way, this is not their original list price. This was the list price that they were at when the home attracted an offer. So sometimes you had price reductions and then sold an additional. The average days on market for the homes that sold 10 or plus more percent, under the list price was 59 days. So homes that were 60 days that it took to get into escrow on average for those homes there. So why should I buy a home now? You might be asking yourself, right? Number one, prices are lower. We just saw that. Compared to March of this year to now, homes are selling the median price 9.5% lower than they were in March. So prices are lower. There's more inventory, aka options, so you don't have to settle for homes. There's less competition, so you don't have to fight against crazy multiple offers where people were literally offering to name their firstborn child after the seller. If you didn't see that news article, hysterical. They're taking longer to sell, so you're not rushed, and you have more negotiation power, which is awesome. But what the heck about frickin' interest rates? And can even anyone afford to buy a home anymore? Short answer, no. I'm kidding. But there are less people who can, mainly because they just don't know what I'm about to tell you. So as promised, I'm going to show you how you can get a mortgage for under 4% and how you can buy next year's prices with last year's rates. Sound cool, right? So here's a 30,000 foot view of the strategy. Short answer, an ARM, adjustable rate mortgage, and a 2-1 buy down. What? So agents, you may be saying, well, that seems simple. Some of you consumers might have no freaking idea what I just said. So let's really quickly go over an ARM versus a 30-year fixed. ARM stands for adjustable rate mortgage. When you see adjustable rate mortgage, think short-term fixed. So there's what's called a 5-1 ARM, a 7-1 ARM, a 10-1 ARM. That means a 5-1 ARM means that it is a fixed for 5 years, and then it can adjust one time per year after that. A 7-1 ARM is it's fixed for 7 years, and then it can adjust one time per year for the remaining years. A 10-1 ARM is the same thing but fixed for 10 years. So an ARM product is just a shorter term that the loan is locked in. We've been so used to over the last few years buying homes on 30-year fixed because they were the lowest in history. It made no sense to even utter the word adjustable rate mortgage, especially because most people from quote unquote last time remember that was one of the crazy things that caused the wonderful great financial collapse of 2007, 8, 9 plus, right? ARMs today are significantly different than ARMs were last time. There's not the crazy teaser rates or the pick a payment or the negative AM ARMs or anything like that. So what we're going to be talking about today is a specific type of ARM product versus a 30-year fixed, because full disclosure, our last house that we actually bought on a 7-1 ARM, because in all reality, and lenders will tell you this, most people, especially here in California, don't keep their loan for longer than 3 to 5 years. Most people refinance fairly frequently, but that's a different topic. Now, what is the difference between a 2-1 buy down versus quote unquote paying points? Because usually we're familiar with paying points, where you pay an additional fee to get a lower interest rate. So you maybe will say, well, if the interest rates are 6 3/4, if you pay 2 points, we can get you down to 6 1/4, where that pays it down for the entire 30-year loan, versus a 2-1 buy down is more similar to actually prepaying the interest. So instead of it being, let's say, a 6% interest rate with a 2-1 buy down for the first year, instead of it being 6%, it would be 2 percentage points lower. The second year would be 1 percentage point lower. So the first year would be 4%. The second year would be 5%. And rather than paying points where it actually goes towards additional closing costs, it actually goes into a separate custodial account that we would get the seller to pay for because of the wonderful negotiation dynamics, where you can get the seller to prepay for your interest for the first 2 years to get you an artificially lower interest rate. Most ARMs, however, suck right now. If you talk to any lender, they will say they're not actually that much better than 30-year fixed rate mortgages are. So you really have to shop around to find out who has the best ARM products right now. And many lenders won't couple a 2-1 buy down with an ARM. So you have to not only find a lender who has a good quality ARM product, but also the program that will also allow it to do a 2-1 buy down on top of the ARM. May sound crazy, but let's go over how the strategy works, because you do have to find the perfect fit. Step one, you have to want to buy a home, right? If you don't want to buy a home, the strategy is not going to work. If you don't want to buy a home, awesome, no stress. Okay, step two, you're going to want to, in order for this strategy to work, you're going to have to think that inflation will get under control within 2 years. If you don't, this strategy might not be the best strategy for you. But for people who do think the Fed, with all of their crazy interest rate hikes, they're going to get inflation under control in the next 2 years. And when inflation gets under control, that's when we will begin to see rates come down. Inflation is the enemy of long-term interest rates. I've done an entire 24-minute deep dive into why interest rates have done what they've done so far this year. It's 24 minutes. It's on our YouTube channel. Feel free to take a look. It goes over every single announcement that the Fed made beginning back in, I think it was even July of last year, all the way up until when we did it, I think it was in July of this year. So we did a whole deep dive into every single announcement and how the market reacted and what's going to be happening moving forward. And then we're going to target opportunity properties, which is homes that are in a good location, maybe those ugly duckling properties where the agent screwed it up or the sellers didn't care enough to fix it up. It's been sitting on the market 30 plus days and you have a listing agent who's on your side. Because as these homes begin to sit, you start getting more calls back from the listing agents. My agent friends are probably nodding their head right now. You're getting that much more often. So when you have all of that, this is how that strategy works, the perfect fit. This is a 10-year ARM, which means the interest rate is fixed for 10 years before there's any chance for adjustment. So you have some room to play with. You have a 2-1 buy down on top of that. You have a purchase price over $810,000 and you're putting 20% down. If that's you, you fit in that box. Again, this is not the type of market that I would recommend you guys trying to say, I got 20 bucks, can I buy a house? You can do it if you do creative financing, but that's setting yourself up for needing the exact perfect scenario to play out in the economy. And I don't know about you, but Murphy's Law always finds a way to strike me. So let's go over, my boy Jared put this together for us. And this is, if you do a 30-year fixed rate loan, with no buy down, nothing crazy. This was as of yesterday, was 6.875%. This is if you're targeting a home, maybe it's at $1 million. We're getting at those ones that have been sitting for 60 days. We get it for $900,000 at 6.875%. If you do just a traditional 7-1 ARM, that would be at 5.625%. 5.625% 10-1 ARM. You pair that with a 2-1 buy down, year one, your interest rate will be 3.625%. And in that first year alone, you will have saved $17,355. The second year, the interest rate will go up to 4.625%. And in that year, you will have saved $12,377 or $37. $30,000 in 2 years you're saving. Let's say, Jacob, we're not going to get the seller to be able to pay or drop their price by $100,000 and give us the $15,000 worth of prepaid interest. Fine. Let's say you just bump the price up to $916,000. You add that cost back in, you're still saving $16,000 year one. And year two, you're saving $11,000, saving nearly $30,000 in just 2 years. But I get a question, well, why don't I just pay points to permanently buy down that rate to 3 point whatever that was? First of all, is you can't, right? It doesn't even exist on rate sheets to be able to get to 3.625%. You're actually capped, according to most people I talk to, 5-6% in points that you can pay. But it would cost you on that same ARM product 5 points to get it down to 4.5%, which would cost you 36 grand in additional costs. So theoretically, if you could, which you can't, it would be over 10 points at least to get it that low if you were even allowed to, which would be over $70,000 to be able to get it to what you're able to get it for the seller to give you at just under 16 grand. So why not let the seller pay for a temporary reduction until rates go down in the future? Since that is the profile of the person who this is a fit for. Again, you believe that interest rates will be coming down in the next 2 years. But what about that person who says, but what if rates aren't gonna come down? First of all, come on, bro. You're not a fit for this, okay? I'm not gonna try to defend that or whatever, because again, how the strategy works is, number one, you have to wanna buy a house. You think inflation, number two, is gonna come under control in 2 years, which will then make rates to come down within 2 years. So I'm not gonna debate if they are or not. I personally believe they will. And that is seconded by Fannie Mae, believes that rates will fall to 4.5% maybe in 2023. So I don't believe that they're going to be going back down to where they were in like 2.75, but at least in the 4s in the next 2 years. And homes are already selling 9.5% lower than they were in March, median prices. So if you get a home for an additional 10% below, that's a 19.5% reduction from the March highs. So that's how you buy next year's prices with last year's rates. And I'm sure you guys are feeling a lot like this right now. So let's pause. This doesn't work for every property, nor does it work with every agent. This is the way that I personally think and the way that I work. This isn't the only secret strategy that I've put together. It's just the one I wanted to share with you today. And this is my call to action to you and my challenge to my agent friends who I love so much. Let's do a better job for our clients because they need us now more than ever. It's time for us to think outside the box. So DM me or call me 949-201-0899 because I want to help you. So if you have questions or want to chat about it, here's my number. So if you need anything, feel free to let me know. I hope this was helpful. I hope you got value from this. I've put a lot of thought into putting some of these strategies together, but I wanted to share with you the reality of what the data is seeing, what the market is saying, where we're planning on going from here. Only the world knows, right? But this is an incredible time in the marketplace. There are a tremendous amount of deals to be made, but the deals must be made. Deals are not found. Opportunities are found and deals are made. So if you're ready to want to get a good deal in the market, reach out to me today. We'll strategize the best way to do it. If you're ready to sell your home because you think maybe the market's going to continue to dip, which more than likely it is, it's just a matter of how much for how long, because the numbers are already in and the data hasn't hit the nationwide news outlets yet. So let's see what happens. But as long as rates remain elevated, we are still going to have a rough time in the real estate market. But no matter what, we're going to be here. It's going to be okay. We all got to live somewhere. We've just been living off of crazy hopium for the last 3 freaking years. We're getting back to normalcy. And when the pendulum swings too far in one direction, it's only natural for it to go the other way for a period of time. So we're getting back to a little reset. Wonderful Jay Powell said it himself. Home buyers need to have a reset. We're seeing that right now. And I don't mean conspiratorial great reset. I mean a real reset in the marketplace. If you need anything, I'm here to help. Jacob Lawler, committed to your success.